we've been discussing on the show just the pseudo feud that has been going on between Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka, and how the media and how the fans and everybody has picked up on it and actually thrown more gasoline on it than probably either one of the two have actually intended on their parts. What's been your thought in moving the game of golf forward because it's talked about more, or is it something that as everybody knows, Bryson's a different cat, right? And when you're different, sometimes you're mocked and not looked upon the same way. And I've seen it differently with how Brooks has handled this and how his fan base has kind of followed up in the process.
Right. They're not going to be paired together.
Right.
The groupings are out, so I know a lot of people wanted to see that. I have a few thoughts on this. I understand it's a different time now, and the social media score, earns money in the same way that the score on the card, 67, 64, in the same way score on the card earns money now. What I think is that Brooks Koepka is playing a game here, and it's intentional, calculated. He knows what he's doing in an attempt to, in his eyes, and probably right, to generate some interest. Because that's where people live now. They live, largely on social media. We're all carrying our phones and checking this feed or that feed. So it's clearly intentional. And he's on there selling beer, and maybe he'll land a 7-figure exhibition match. I would look for Phil Mickelson, who's sort of the impresario of these made-for-television matches that feature Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. My money it says that he'll put the DeChambeau and Koepka together before the end of the year. I don't know that for a fact, but I'm just guessing. So this is a game that Brooks has determined he wants to play. And he does have he's generating a following. It's sort of Barstool, and that's his crowd. And does it generate interest? I guess. My only concern would be is if he's inviting his fans, his followers, in some way, even if it's not overt, to heckle Bryson, then I think some sort of a line has been crossed there.
Yeah.
And I would add, just for perspective here, there are games and feuds and battles, and it's kind of child's play. And then there's the following, which I'll share with you. This is the 75th anniversary of Lloyd Mangram's U.S. Open win in 1946. Before the U.S. Open, a couple of years before, Lloyd Mangrum, who was a hardscrabble pro from Texas, was offered a club job in Maryland. It would have kept him out of World War II. He turned down that club job, and he served. He went to fight tyranny in Europe. He was injured in Normandy and the Battle of the Bulge. He was awarded 2 Purple Hearts. Before going into battle, he was with his best friend. They ripped up a dollar bill in half, and they agreed that they would reunite and put that dollar bill back together after the war. They'd meet up again. Soon after, his best friend was killed. Mangrum hung on to that dollar bill for the rest of his days. And 6 months after returning from the war, Mangrum made a 7-footer in a driving rainstorm in Ohio to win the U.S. Open. So I would, put all of this this stuff aside.
Yep.
I think every player here would welcome the chance to have a 7-footer in the San Diego sunshine to win a U.S. Open. So all of this is, in the grand scheme, it's much ado about nothing. But it's kind of a modern, it's kind of a modern wrinkle in sports. It's not just the action on the field of play. There's something going on Twitter. There's some beef. There's some controversy. I mean, every week we go, there's something. Somebody said something, wrote something, tweeted something, So onward we go. I think there'll be an impact. Probably it's something they're going to have to address in the Ryder Cup team room later this year. That'll be written about. So look, if the measurement is clicks and people talking about it and writing about it, then I suppose it's been a roaring success. This little feud, whatever you want to call it. But I don't put a lot of stock in it. I prefer my rivalries to be played out on the course. I'd love to see them together late Sunday in the final group. Then we'd really have something.
Me too.
That could happen. That could happen because look, these two have won 3 of the last 4 U.S. Opens. They're both phenomenal talents. I mean, just phenomenal. Strong dudes, great competitors, all of that. And I think some of this goes back to a few years ago when Brooks won 2 majors in 1 year and was left off ESPN's list of dominant athletes. He had a legitimate gripe.
Right.
You win 2 of these things in 1 year, you're dominant in your sport. And I think Brooks determined at that point in time that he was going to be heard, not simply with his golf clubs, but in the more modern ways that athletes are putting themselves in front of the public. And I think he's in some ways cleverly figured out this is where you can do it, poke and tweak and troll a little bit, and in his eyes probably have a little fun. But again, I think if we're out there on Thursday or Friday and Bryson's getting heckled, then it's a little bit of a problem. I would suspect that security will be on the lookout for all of that this week. We'll see how it goes.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.